Audio check. Because I thought it'd be.
No, that's Scotty.
I've heard somebody playing music inside the theater.
Yes, that's Scotty. Scotty owns the house. He owns the brick house and the house. And has the two girls.
That's the first time they've rented this.
Good evening. It's 6 o'clock in the bewitching hour to start our meeting. I'm David Price. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Architectural Review. And I welcome you all to our meeting. And I think looking out there, everyone here has been here and experienced the meeting, so I don't have to explain too much about what we do. But we take the submittals in the order in which they're placed with the town office. And our charge is to look at projects in terms of how they fit into the historic district. We look at mass and detail. And so those are the things that we look at in our evaluation of projects, and the way we look at existing historic properties may be a little bit different than the way we look at new construction. But with historic properties, we try very hard to maintain the integrity of the building and maintain the historic materials as best as possible. The first issue of business tonight is to approve the minutes of the December 3rd meeting, which everyone has received in the mail or email. Does anybody have any additions to those minutes?
No.
Or wish to move that we approve them?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we move to approve the minutes as submitted.
And I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, Kimsey? Okay,
I need to turn this on.
Nancy Jean,
I abstained because I wasn't at the December meeting.
Rachel,
Yes.
and Beth,
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Okay. Minutes are approved. The first issue of business is the election of a new chairman and vice chairman. And I open the floor to recommendations.
Do we nominate one at a time, like chair and then vice?
Yeah, I think that would be the appropriate way to do it.
I make a motion that, or I nominate David Price to be our chair.
I'll second that.
And I'm wondering if another nominee, Tim Kennedy, might be appropriate as a younger member.
The only reason why I didn't consider Tim is because he sometimes has conflicts and he attends less regularly than you do. And your history with our board is an asset. And I think that you're a very strong candidate to help us move forward now that Phil has retired.
I agree. I have the same reasoning.
Well said.
All right. Any other nominations? Okay. All in favor of elevating me to say aye.
Aye.
All right. And for vice chairman,
I'll nominate Tim.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other nominees? Okay,
I actually do just want to open that up because again, while I really respect him, he is not always here. And I feel like there are other board members, like all of the other women who are on the board here who have attended regularly and contribute a lot. And I'd like to just talk about whether or not they could be a very good chair for us. And it's simply because Tim is not always here. And that I'm thinking we might want to have someone who attends more regularly or consistently.
Yeah, I would actually like to nominate Rachel.
And I would like to decline simply because I feel like my position as architect on the board is already a defined role and that there are others who could contribute.
oh. One of the other things I was thinking about in Tim's position is he seems to feel very much like he is the Preservation Society's representative on the board, which puts him in a peculiar position and kind of removes his position from being totally independent.
I understand that.
Could I ask, just, you had mentioned that he's not always able to attend, so I just kind of, like maybe a little bit of background on that, but then, more importantly, probably, you know, who has expressed interest in wanting to be vice chair? Or who would,
To be honest, I don't think any of us
No.
thought about it. It's the very
Right.
first time
Yeah.
we're going, "Oh, shoot,
Yeah.
it's tonight."
Well, I think too, I'm the one maybe who's been here the longest besides Tim and Rachel would be Beth.
Yeah.
Mhm. And she's younger. And I think it, well, it's, listen, we're all the gray haired. I think we need to make sure there's somebody younger than the majority of us. That's
I-
important.
I definitely think she would be very good. She always comes prepared,
Mhm,
asks a lot of good questions,
mhm.
and
I will withdraw my nomination for Tim then. And if it's appropriate, I will redo a nomination for Beth as vice chair.
do I have a second?
Yes.
Well, first,
Would you accept?
Yes, I would accept the nomination.
And I'll second that.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Amen.
Okay,
Thank you for your confidence. I
Mhm.
appreciate it.
yes. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Oh, congratulations.
Mhm.
And Congratulations, David.
Yeah, you get your extra pay.
And not just because she's young, she's a designer. She has a wonderful eye for art and for looking at the architecture as part of the whole preservation of the historic district. So I didn't want you to think that just because she's young, that was it.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right, and it's now a moment to reflect upon the service of Philip Dixon, who's been chairman of the board since its inception in what, 1975, 76?
Gosh.
Hmm? Okay, I think that's when the board was formed. And so he's been chairman all that time.
Wow.
Wow,
And
that's tremendous.
I served with him 2 terms of a total of probably about 30 years. So I appreciate what he's done and the manner in which he has run the meetings. I would love to be able to do it the same way. He stays out of the fray until the very end. That'll be a new role for me. But I hope the town council will see fit to recognize you at a town council meeting, because you've been very important to the success of the BAR and the development of guidelines and making us stick to our intent. So,
And I do have a brief statement on behalf of the planning department and the town for Mr. Dixon. I let Mr. Dixon know he'll have probably a grander event on Thursday at the council meeting, but this is something we just put together real quick. Following a long and successful tenure on the Board of Architectural Review, Mr. Philip Dixon has opted to resign from his position of chairman, a position he'd held since 1980. The Historic Preservation Ordinance, which established the BAR and the Historic District, was passed by Town Council in 1974. Mr. Dixon was a driving force behind this ordinance. He was among the initial proponents of a Historic Preservation Ordinance for the town and helped to establish the Historic District's boundaries at the time. Mr. Dixon was appointed to the board in 1977. Prior to his appointment, Mr. Dixon served as the president of the Somerville Preservation Society, a group that he also helped to establish. Mr. Dixon has reviewed countless projects within the Historic District and has successfully guided the BAR as its chairman for nearly 45 years. Over that span, Mr. Dixon's own historic research has been published several times, further cementing his legacy as an expert on the town's history. In more recent years, Mr. Dixon and the BAR have helped to guide the development of the town's Unified Development Ordinance. With the substantial growth of the town, Mr. Dixon has worked to protect the integrity of the Historic District and has ensured that applications brought before the BAR are considered in a judicious and fair manner. With a career as long and successful as Mr. Dixon's, it is impossible to cover every accomplishment in a brief statement. The town and its Historic District would not be what they are today without the contribution of individuals like Mr. Dixon. On behalf of the town of Somerville, the Town of Somerville Planning Department, I'd like to extend our most sincere gratitude to Mr. Dixon for his contributions to the town, its Historic District, and its community.
very well said. So we move on. Has anybody been signed up for public comment?
Yes, Mr. Peter Gorman will be speaking regarding 309 South Magnolia.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members. I am Peter Gorman and I live at 313 South Magnolia, just adjacent to an item on your agenda before you tonight. But first, let me congratulate the new leadership of the BAR. As a member of the Preservation Society, I can tell you that we couldn't be more pleased with how you've chosen your leadership. And let me extend kudos to Phil. I have to absolutely agree with the remarks from the Planning Commission that this town would not look, the Historic District would not look today as it does. And thank you, Phil.
Mhm.
I understand that on your agenda tonight is a full demolition request for 309 South Magnolia for the kitchen house. I call it the kitchen house in the backyard. Demolition should be an absolute last resort in the Historic District, and I've said that many times. Chairman, you have mentioned that you have restored ADU in the back of your property fully to the way it was before at considerable expense rather than the demolition. And I commend you for that, and I think that should be the case here. There is a statute or an ordinance that about demolition by neglect in your guidelines, and I highly suggest that it apply here. The other thing I might mention is that I have a dispute with the property line that the applicants have put forward. I built that fence in the back, and I told my fence builder to put it a foot back from the property. And it appears that they're drawing their property line from where I put my fence rather than a foot advancing into what they consider their property. So I've been assured by Remy that that will be reconciled during the permit process. And so I will leave it in his capable hands. Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, then we should. Oops. We are now ready to take the presentation by the owners of 309 South Magnolia.
We're pretty much just asking for the same thing that we asked for 2 months ago, to demo and rebuild a structure after digging deeper, like Dr. Price asked us to. There is not a piece of wood that is salvageable on the cottage. It is termite, rotten, live termites in it, old termite damage. There's
I do have sorry to interrupt. I do have the pictures of the demolition process. If you want to sort of talk us through that, I can scroll through them for you.
You can see here in the left bottom that whole wall has been reconstructed. It doesn't have the angled support piece in it any longer. And the new wood that has been placed there is rotten. Like if we were to remove the wood on the interior, I feel that the structure would completely collapse. The wood that's inside the tongue and groove is from Lowe's. It has a QR code that you can scan on it still. So it's new wood that you can purchase at Lowe's. And that's the only thing that's keeping the building together. Like I said, there is very, very bad termite damage in it. Can you zoom in on the pictures or no? That 8x8 right there, you can see that it's
missing the whole middle
middle
section.
section, because you can see here on the left-hand side where the termites, the damage, it's like rotten. It's not been cut off. It's not been cut off. It's been disintegrated.
And both of the two outside door pieces have been scabbed in approximately 2 feet from the bottom as well. You can see where they have scabbed those in.
And then on the bottom, or on the left-hand side, that first piece of siding that you can see was original-ish, that had a piece of hardy plank tacked to it that I just pulled off with my hand, and the whole original piece just fell off. I have videos of that. I'm not sure if we
didn't
send that in. I don't know if that's something that we could play, but I literally have videos of me doing it to make sure that I could prove that I wasn't causing the damage, that when I was taking stuff off, stuff was falling off.
Majority of everything that we pulled down was all by hand. There was no tools needed because of how bad everything was. Dr. Price, he had seen everything, as well as Rachel, right? Yeah, you came by as well to look at everything as well. Tim was trying to get by, but he didn't have a chance to as well. But
And we even had Hayward Hudson come out and look at it from the Preservation Society, and he pretty much said the white wood right here in this is on the outside of the original structure, that those possibly could be salvaged. But with the active termites, I don't know. I haven't pulled those off to see if there's anything wrong with them, but those are literally the only boards in the entire structure that possibly could be preserved.
And they would be used as like decoration pieces added inside. Like we've used other stuff that we removed from that other housework that we've used inside our house as well.
We've saved every piece of wood that has come out of our inside of our home. I have it in the backyard. I literally have saved the scrap wood that I've cut off to make into a cutting board. Like I am not throwing away anything.
Yeah.
I have the nails that we took out of the wood. I have made beams in my house. I've made light fixtures. I've even used the lath boards that we found under the plaster as decoration. Like every piece of stuff that I have found in my house, I am reusing it. I would not throw away anything that is,
Usable,
Worth
salvageable,
anything.
or- Yeah.
but there's just the only thing that would even be prevalent would be the location of the footprint of it. And we can't add any square footage to the footprint because it's a non-conforming structure. So that isn't even in the realm, as Mr. Gorman said, he has a dispute on the property line and doesn't want us to put the property back where it's at because it's too close to his fence. So at this time, I feel like the only option is to demo the building and build a structure that makes it look like this structure is still there. And that's what we worked with.
But conforming to the new guidelines,
yes.
to all the new guidelines.
That's why the original, like, we haven't even changed our plans from being here 2 months ago. It's the same structure that we were asking for 2 months ago because it looks like that building is still sitting there.
I'm curious. I have not been able to drive, so I have not inspected this building.
Mhm.
I'd like to hear from Dr. Price and Rachel to hear what their view is. And if anybody else has gone to see it in person, I'd like their
Yeah,
input.
that'd be helpful for me too.
Mm.
Yeah, I totally, I agree.
Rachel?
I can't remember the date that I went, but I was able to look at all 4 sides of that building. And what I saw was that every vertical stud, the diagonal pieces, the beams at the bottom that were part of the foundation, all of them had significant rot to the point where they had almost no unrotted piece left, and there was no structural integrity in any of them. So you would be literally rebuilding. Like there was not a piece that you could say, well, I'm repairing. Like it would be literally rebuilding. And I was really sorry to see that it was in that state.
We were really sorry. I mean, even when we dug deeper, I thought I was going to be able to salvage some
Yeah.
of the wood to repurpose. And I was upset that
Yeah.
there's truly not.
It was just all covered up.
It was, I would agree. What I saw that had been exposed was almost completely rotted through, and that there were no sound structural elements left or sound. I mean, I know that you said Hayward saw those pieces. I wasn't sure that you could reuse them
Because we don't
either.
know
Because of the
how
termites.
damaged, what's,
Yeah,
like, when we get
I thought it would take further investigation to see about boards.
Mhm.
Yeah, my visit there was early on in this process, and I encouraged them to do what they have done to expose all the parts for us to really look at. And what I saw before was kind of marginal, what could be used, but seeing after they have done what was asked for them to do, which was really kind of over and above expectation. I don't see any usable framework here.
That's kind
The-
of why we stopped
the-
at this point, even though that
Yeah.
looks horrible in my backyard. I feel like if I kept going, it was gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
Like, as I took more off, it got more
Yeah.
unsteady.
Remy, I have a question for you. My understanding is that there's several pieces that we're looking at. One is do we approve or not the demolition? And then do we approve or not the new construction? Are those two things tied together, or is it literally one then the other?
One than the other. So you can treat it as two votes, two decisions.
Okay.
Anyone wish to make a motion here?
I will make a motion that we approve the demolition of this historic structure. And as I've said before, I'm really sorry that it got to this level before it was able to be repaired, but I truly believe that it warrants our approval of the demolition.
I have a second.
I mean, I haven't driven by this, but I'll definitely second it. It looks like if you kept taking these things off, it does look like it would fall down. So yeah, I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I will say that I was not able to get by to look at the property. But I did go through all the images that you all sent, and I actually was showing them to a friend of mine that works on historic projects about, you know, just what we were looking at, what kind of damage it actually was. And I will say that he basically agreed with what Rachel was saying, that it just, once you take one piece out, the whole thing would crumble.
I don't know if you have pictures of the backside, like I sleep in a tent underneath their tent and
Next.
2x4 stacked on top
One
of
more.
it,
One more.
holding the middle of it up.
Yeah, underneath it. I don't know if I got a good
Yeah,
picture of that.
there's-
that
Right there.
Yeah.
So
That's a
there's wood,
tent, like you sleep on it tent.
and somebody's already scabbed those
Pieces
those
in.
pieces in, the actual joists in midway, and then the tent is blocking other wood up that holds it up.
Hmm.
There's not, I mean.
And that whole
it's- and
8x8 is missing.
Yeah, it ends like right under the window and the whole 8x8's gone. And this corner is almost a foot dropped from the opposite corner.
Yeah, I would add before we vote that when I made the comment some meetings ago about our cottage being derelict when I started working on it. And it was derelict, but it had nowhere near as severe a condition of deterioration as this property is. And we were able to use a great deal of the materials in it, and it's got very little new lumber in it. So
Big
that's just a
difference.
comment during.
Big
comment.
difference is what you're saying.
And you were very gracious in agreeing to go ahead and expose as much as you did, because that was I think very important that we didn't make the decision on looking at a single sill or the bottom of a rotted timber. So I thank you for that. And I too am sorry that it has gotten into this kind of condition.
Yeah, I'd like to second. I'm glad that you took this apart. This little building was an important enough building that if it was possible to save it, we really wanted to do that.
Agreed. 100%.
So I'm very glad that you were able to take that time, let us have a look and do that work to expose it for us.
Of course.
You did your best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
you
do
see,
plan on saving the bricks. We got one.
I want to get a mason out to look at it and see if it's even possible to try and move some of it, or if we have to take it brick by brick, but we're going to rebuild the chimney. I love it.
That's great. Sounds like you really care about the house and the whole thing's in it, so.
I've been here my whole life.
We've been in the house for a little over 5 years, but I mean,
I've lived in Somerville my
Yeah.
whole life, and I never thought I would live in a old home, and I love it.
And I think it's clear that this damage did not all occur in a 5-year period of time.
Mhm.
Can I call the question? Did we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Of the demolition. Yes.
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 All yes, so do that. So now we move on to the next issue of the replacement for this structure.
So the front view from the road, which would be offset from where it is now, it'll move over to the 10 foot off the property line, which is where I have it marked on my concrete is actually 12 foot off the fence to give that extra space. Because when we had the survey done the year before last, we had our own survey done on it, and he had a hard time because of the amount of tree coverage on that side of the property line. We asked him, what was his name? The one, he's right around the corner in town. But we asked him if he could give us a definitive line on that property so we knew exactly where it was. And he said, that's not something I can do because I can't
String a string.
string a
because of
string
the
from line to
trees.
line. We have the markers. We know where the markers are and we are well aware of where they are, 100%. That's why off the fence, it's.
We're doing
it's-
extra.
The fence is still, it's kind of like based off of the information that we were given, it's not a straight line. It's a little off in some places.
It's like kind of on the property line in some places and off the property line 10 inches here and there
So we
because of the trees. So we just went ahead and allotted an extra 2 foot just
off of
to,
the fence to make sure we're covering what we
Yeah.
need to cover.
I think that's
and the
fine.
front view would be the top. And then the side view would be the last views that we were looking at from our pool. And it all the way to the right would look like the stable house was still there.
Matching it as exact as
He
possible.
came
That's what
over,
we,
measured all the heights and tried to make it look exactly like it was
was
still
there.
sitting there.
Okay. The street,
you show us the plan?
we would also be removing approximately, I think it was right at 850 square foot of concrete as well, because there was a big concrete area next between the pool and the cottage. We're removing that to add the brick pavers to match around the pool. I don't know if you have the other view originally. Before that, it was,
The original site.
yeah, it would have been in the other,
Yeah, I don't have it in this,
not in this new
Just
submission,
2
but
months ago.
yeah, from the other submission, it would have been in there that has all the concrete and everything that we would be.
So we would be back within the guidelines of the 30%,
yeah.
because right now we sit at 32%,
With the concrete coverage and the cottage or
the
the
existing building
existing
right
stable
now.
house and the garage area that's there was it sitting at 32. So by moving it over, we'll be able to remove approximately 5 foot of concrete that side, as well as I think it was 16 by 26 square foot of concrete as well that we'll be getting rid of to be able to make sure we have the proper amount of green space that to make sure we're within the guidelines of that.
Could you go back to the elevations again?
So from the
Okay.
street view, you would be able to see
About half of
about
the
half
right.
of the right side door.
Yeah.
Garage
That would be
door.
street view. Whereas right now, if you look at it, you see one garage door that was there from the stable area, I guess, is what it was considered.
Right.
So we would
And the
just be-
elevation of the roof would be different, but right now it's the cottage. And then
cottage
there's like a
backs-
lean-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were wanting to keep the peak
View
of the
from the
cottage
road.
all the way
Yeah, all
across,
the
so
way
it would look more like the house.
Yeah.
I essentially wanted to look like I have a miniature
Yeah.
house in the backyard that looks like my house instead of it looking like a lean-to.
Well, I like a lot of your design and I like a lot of your intention of what you're trying to do. And the only thing I would like us as a board to talk about is in sort of homage to the historic building that we're demolishing. Because it was such a sweet shape and so unique and it really was part of the fabric and the history of our town. I would love it if on this view, that it was not a straight wall that went all the way across and it was only the roof that was illustrating where that cottage
On which
ended.
view?
Which view?
On the top view?
So I'm talking about the proposed north elevation where you can
Okay.
really see the side view of that cottage.
Right.
If that projected forward just a little bit so that it read as a piece. And I know
So
that
you're
that's
saying for the cottage space, like the roof line?
just the cottage and that piece, as if it was a bay that projected forward and the other building was
Set back,
behind.
like maybe a
Yes.
difference? Yeah,
That's how it is.
And so I know
it's a straight.
Oh,
line.
it's a straight line.
If we
And
could set
so,
it out-
so you've just put a little piece of trim to illustrate, oh, it was
Yeah,
this
that's-
shape.
That's why we had the trim boards on each side.
Correct.
But
we
yeah,
could
just
bring it
make-
out.
But I think
step
it,
out.
it would be, a better sort of representation of
This was.
this was the
stable house.
cottage if it actually had the massing showing stronger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
We could extend it out at least 12 more inches.
Yeah.
And I know you've been talking about coverage, so I appreciate you're gonna have to just double check that.
Mhm.
We
but-
should be well under
Okay,
the
Yeah.
30% as far as
okay.
what
But
I've
with-
calculated,
yeah.
because how much we're getting rid of and how much we're
Yeah.
adding.
But with that, I think it would be a nice nod to the history of what we had.
Because we
And
even considered,
it's a sweet looking
Mhm.
accessory structure.
we had even considered at one point, instead of doing a double garage door or 2 garage doors, having an extended single door and
Right.
being able to add that window back similar to it. We just talked about a whole bunch of different
Right,
That
ideas when we
moving
were discussing
over
it.
so far.
yeah,
But you won't even see that from the road
Right.
at all. It's not. So that's why we added the second garage.
But I
door.
agree with you on the step out
Yeah,
from
definitely.
the front view by the pool.
yeah,
Give it
make
more
it
of a
separate.
definition, more
Yeah.
of a separate
yeah.
look.
Is that long, flat, blank wall visible from the street?
No, that
No,
long back
that's
wall is
Okay.
between. ours.
Dormant.
Yes, that's,
It would give us more privacy between our
Yeah.
properties.
we're not.
So that's why we didn't want any windows.
Yeah,
Elevation is the one that you can see from the street.
Yeah.
I like how you kept the shape of the original
Oh, yeah.
opening.
That was the,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that was the big deal. I mean, that was our priority when we talked to him.
And then the top one would be facing the backyard.
Because the cottage area that we're building is for my mother to live there, and that would give her her own little back area
Backyard.
of our yard for her
Yeah.
little dog.
Can you show the floor plan? Did this not, oh, this, I'm sorry, that was the other project that's similar to this. I was thinking of, yeah. So this does not have a second floor.
No second floor.
Mm-mm.
We didn't want
Attic
her to.
space, we don't have.
Yeah,
it
we
in our
want attic
house.
space. We don't have any attic space in the house.
They
so-
turned that attic space into the kids' room, so there's no,
Yeah, we have no storage at the house. But the,
and I
and
decorate a little bit.
Christmas and thanks and all of the
Mhm.
holidays, but we didn't want do a 2-story because, my mom is gonna be 67 in a couple of days, so we don't want to have to worry about stairs. We don't want to have to worry
I
about
only
any.
buy an elevator.
What's the window grid pattern on this? Okay, that
Mimics our house.
mimics the
Yeah.
Mhm.
front of
everything-
your house. You've
Yeah.
got some
Everything possible.
different windows on the
So-
back side, right?
Yes, because the front side are only the 2 single panes, but the side view, the other side view of our houses, every one of them have a different window per that side of the building. So we
Yeah.
matched the side of view from that same side.
These are the appropriate windows for that
Correct.
house. I know you have some 6/6 windows on the back side.
Yeah, that's over our bathroom. That,
Yeah.
the small ones that tilt out.
Do we have any additional comments from the board?
then I'd like to make a motion that we approve this design. With that, with the exception that one bay
Yep.
move forward 12 inches.
Definitely.
Yep.
I'll second the motion.
And the materials are going to be,
Everything that matches the house is possible. The same roof, the same color house as the house. It'll be hardy board siding. I mean, everything.
That is one thing that just popped in my head when he said same as house, because I know it's supposed to be 1 inch per town. So do you want it 1 inch or 1.5 inch standing
the
seam? Because
standing
our
seam.
house is standing seam is 1.5 inch because they messed up.
They
And
misordered.
y'all approved that for the house. But do you want it to match the house or do you want it to be 1 inch?
Because the town
think-
is 1 inch
I
standing.
think 1 inch would be better, even though the,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the only
Um,
thing I think we were talking about,
That just
whether or
popped
not.
in my head when you said the same.
and
material.
the windows are gonna have simulated divided lights, so there's gonna be a mullion on the outside of the glass.
Yes,
Okay,
just like that side, I guess it would be the north elevation of our house. They have the
That.
thing.
Okay.
And the only other thing I'd just draw to your attention is you've drawn it as if you have a brick foundation. And
So our house has a brick foundation as well,
Correct.
but it'll be on a slab.
correct.
Yeah.
But if this has a little concrete block wall, then you may need to use thin brick to achieve this detail, so it doesn't stick out
Right,
Okay.
from the house above.
right.
We have plenty of brick. I saved all that too.
Yeah. Everything we found in the yard and everything. Yeah.
Me and Pima just stacked it up real neat. And there were snakes and I don't do snakes.
any other comments before we vote? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not sure that did we have a second?
Yeah, we did. I thought
Yeah.
Nancy Jean seconded it.
Nancy.
Nancy Jean?
Okay, it has passed. So thank you. Good luck.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
so much.
and I'm going to formally recuse myself here.
Okay. So 611 South Main.
Getting tired of seeing me yet? Thank y'all. So when we started this process a few months ago, we presented the idea of the carriage house, and then there was some concerns that I was able to go over with Remy and Justin about placement, and Rachel helped us figure out where we could try to preserve all the trees and then also give ourselves some backyard for our kiddos to run around in. And so you'll see the updated plans that we have to build on a carriage house, and it's a theme that we want to have a spot for mom. So okay.
And this is on a slab as well?
Yes. So what you see, the garage doors will be facing 6th Street there.
And I believe one of my questions to Remy was the height of the building.
Yeah, so per the ordinance, it wouldn't be allowed to exceed the height of the primary structure. Based on their submittal at the last meeting, the scaling of that plan indicated that at its tallest point, the primary structure is about 17.5 feet tall. The plans here indicate 19.5 approximately is what it says, to match existing. So I'm not sure if that indicates taller or if it will be reduced to about 17.5 to match existing.
If it were not to be reduced, would this be a variance? If they,
Since it's a conditional use, I don't believe a variance could be requested. It's got to meet a list of conditions to be permitted. So I don't think that there could be a request for variance in this case.
So that's a hard and fast.
Mhm.
So what's the difference in height? 18 inches?
About 18 inches.
Is that something that can be adjusted or I don't, architecturally,
Ye-
I'm not.
My understanding was that it was drawn to match. So, I mean, our intention is to follow the code. There's nothing magical about being 19 or 18 feet for us that
Okay.
it doesn't look, but there is a finished attic space as you may have seen for the primary home. And so we're just looking to be able to add an extra bedroom up there. And so I don't think that the extra bit of space will sink our ship.
One thing that on the work that you've done on your house, we were allowing you to put in windows to match what was there with between the glass grids. I would propose that on this separate structure, you go to our current guidelines, which would be with simulated divided lights.
Not a problem. Yeah. We just have it drawn with the 6x6 to match, but it's not a problem to do the external grids.
Because this is going to be kind of a separate
Certainly.
building and it's going to be right out there. So
Understood.
And the front door matches the front door that's actually on the house, the main structure, right?
So we selected the same door to put in both places. So the new door that we'll use will match the new door here. That's in the material selection.
So this is a 2-bedroom place, one on the ground floor and one upstairs. Is that correct?
Yes, my 95-year-old stepfather's not here tonight, but he can't do stairs really anymore. So we're trying to get
And I was wondering about in such a small space, 3 bathrooms.
I don't, it
two-
was, it
two
was,
and a half.
yeah, it was drawn as that, but I don't think we're actually gonna do it like that internally. We're looking for the approval of the design for the exterior, and that's our mock-up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't think that we're gonna try to squeeze a 3rd bathroom in.
David, do we have, are we supposed to say one way or the other about more than one bathroom in the upstairs when it is not an exterior
No,
view?
but
Okay,
that was a quizzical question as
Gotcha.
opposed to something that was had to
Yeah,
do with what we were doing.
I share that. I don't see the reason to have a.
And oh, no, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, as far as the height that we were talking about, the difference, is that something that Rachel can explain to us, that it'd be okay to reduce it, or can she not put her input in?
I don't-
That- Or
I
is-
don't think she can. I
Okay.
think it's my understanding she would be given the information that we were concerned about
Okay,
and that they would
She can
deal
work
with
on
it and bring it
just so
back.
that we could approve it, I guess, or not, and not wait,
Yeah.
is what I was thinking, but.
One of the concerns I have, and I'm sure she could address it, would be that if you had to lower the height of the building by 1.5 feet, that would significantly change the pitch of the roof. And I think it would make a much flatter roof not look particularly wonderful there.
So maybe that was the
So-
reasoning.
You know, if she can convince the town that the building as presented to us will be no higher than the main uh, house, then I think we could make a approval based on that if that's what everybody wanted. But I think if she had to lower the ridge by 1.5 feet, then we'd need to reevaluate the drawings.
Is the ground lower? Like, does it slope down in the back?
I think it's fairly flat there, isn't it?
It does minimally, it does
Yeah.
go down slightly, but it's mostly a flat lot.
Yeah,
there.
and are the rules based upon the physical height of each building, or are they based upon the accessory building being no higher where it sits than?
I believe it's based on the height of the primary structure, so not measured from grade, essentially. The from grade height would have to be the same. So the grade should make no difference, essentially. They would have to be the same height.
Could we see the last image of the yard? I'm just trying to get a visual of how much, because this is of how much of the side yard, the view, it takes up there. But it looks right.
Remy, do you have a image of the front of the house with the revisions?
I don't have the elevations from the previous review in this packet.
And I assume the height of the house is measured to the ridge line, not to the top of the chimney. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that height is based off of that initial elevation set from the last meeting that I just took and scaled with an architect's rule. So there is some margin for error there depending on those initial elevations. So don't take the height I've given you as gospel truth, but there does appear to be a little bit of a discretion there.
I certainly think the architect involved knows the rules.
I hope so.
But I think that does need to be clarified. If we were to approve this, it would be based upon it. The package presented to us meeting those guidelines, and if it did not, then a revision would have to come back to us.
Make that motion then, in your good words.
Well, I'm not supposed to be making motions.
You aren't. You're not allowed to.
I guess I could, but I think it's,
The eyebrows over the garage and the door that are facing E6 South Street. Are those going to be metal or are they going to be out of the asphalt, the shingles? Or,
It's drawn there as
you know,
the shingles, but if it's preferable, we're amenable to have it be either way.
there's on the new elevations for the main house, there's a eyebrow over where the existing garages are. What is that material?
That was going to be a metal.
Okay.
and that,
I would
then
think
these should be too. And I think generally these eyebrows, regardless of what's on the roof, they tend to be metal because they often are at a flatter pitch, and metal is much better for a flatter pitch.
I would just want to check on that. And then I was thinking, it just really looks very flat and plain. on either the left side, the right side, and guess you wouldn't really see the inside yard from the street, East 6 South Street, maybe shutters to match at least on the first floor, I don't think that they would fit upstairs.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm happy to add shutters there. That's
But,
to match the
that
front.
might give it some
I think
interest.
it's very appropriate on two-story houses to have shutters on the first floor, not on the second.
Happy to do
Yeah,
that.
whatever matches the main
No.
house.
Yeah, my wife would be here for making it pretty, and I'm like our function person. So yeah, if the metal or the shutters, that's all very amenable for us to.
And just appropriate lighting on the outside, by the front door and then the back door, I would think you would want.
Yeah, she's got a great plan of wanting to light up the big trees and all, and let's get it built first.
Is there a motion? And I'm just trying to carry on the way in which Mr. Dixon ran these meetings.
So there would be maybe 3 changes, the metal roof, shutters on the first floor, and
Metal roof on the eyebrows.
metal roof on the eyebrows, and then the height of the building.
Can I just
If it's-
clarify, when you say the eyebrows, you're talking about over the garage door specifically and over the front door, not the dormer section?
Right.
Is that correct? Okay, great. Just to make sure I'm clear. Thank you. Yeah, I believe actually my wife wanted those to be metal as well as I.
And it looks like they're.
It does look
drawn
like it
in
is
Yeah.
as
metal. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like they're metal,
And the third would be the height of the
the
roof.
height of the roof.
Is that,
So,
go ahead.
so can we put forth a motion contingent on the height and then the metal?
Uh, is that a roll-up garage door?
Yes, sir.
Do they make so that's one
One
door?
door.
Yes, it's just made to look like it's the old swinging
Yeah,
doors, but
Yeah, I didn't know if they made a garage door that has something that looks like it would be a divider in the
Yeah.
middle,
Mm-hmm.
give that look that it's actually 2 doors,
Probably wouldn't,
but
I
I
don't know. Because then you wouldn't be able to,
What does the garage door look like on the main house?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Painting like a trim board.
Hmm.
That way it still functions like a double garage.
I think that there's a picture of the door and below.
The new garage door was approved at the December 3rd meeting. I don't have that material sample in this packet. But this is what is existing. A new garage door was recently approved.
I think if we scroll down, there's a picture.
Oh.
Yeah, yep, one of these.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that was what I
Yeah.
had designed and I think it gives more the appearance of 2 separate swinging doors, but
unless there was hardware also in the middle there. Like on the outside,
yeah.
to make
yeah.
it look like 2 doors.
I didn't see anything to
You know,
that
the black
effect.
hardware on
Yeah,
the, maybe if,
Just to add the hardware
There.
to duplicate.
in the middle, to make it look like 2 doors.
I haven't seen anything like that, but we're very flexible.
I mean, just add it on. Yeah,
Yeah.
just screw it on there, right?
I just haven't seen any. I can't guarantee that that's a product that they make, but
So-
we're very flexible.
That's what you direct your architect to find for you. I think Yeah, I think something that would make that look more realistic when you see it this way, it becomes very clear that that can't function the way it's as two fold out doors that it's trying to replicate, but she should be able to deal with that. Okay,
And-
we,
That doesn't look like it would structurally be any change. You just add the little additions to make it look like,
The hinges, yeah. Unless that's how the door goes up, there's that crease that
Yeah, you would-
each,
in order to do that, that central vertical member would have to be wider. So whether they make that or not. but We could make that an issue for the architect to deal with and approve the garage door later.
come back to us on the garage door.
It's not gonna keep the place
Yeah.
from being built if we approve it.
So we'd approve everything that you have spoken about with the exception of the garage door. And then they come back to us if she can find something that makes it look like two separate doors.
Correct.
Okay. Did we have a motion? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we did have a motion at one time.
so
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I would make a
yeah.
motion to approve the design, making sure that the roof over the eyebrow is metal, and that the height conforms with the town's requirements. And that come back later about the garage door
Shutters.
And shutters on the,
and add shutters to the first floor.
I'll s-
As far as the shutters, making sure that they're like
Will match the house.
map,
Yeah,
yeah,
ma'am.
the main house.
does
that
look
cover it?
fun-
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Hi.
Hi,
Aye.
Hi,
Unanimous.
okay.
Thank
You're
you.
good.
Thank you. And is there any other business to come before us?
Don't think so.
All right. Someone make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second,
Yes.
everybody get up and leave,
and
Unanimous.
amen.
like Phil always said.
All right, Rachel.
I did drive by that
Did you?
place. And I looked at the, yeah, I wasn't sure exactly where they were going to put it.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting seeing the